Alrighty, Doc here from North America. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It is Thursday. Yeah, we passed Happy to Hump Day, and we're only a day away from TGIM, the end of the TGIF, the end of the week. So, hooray for us! All right, let's see what we got going on here today, and let me check into the Dukascopy website. Let's see if anybody is asking any questions. And as you can see, we have Swiss franc up on the screen there in both the J4X and the Chicago Quant. We have the fact check spreadsheet right there. And you can see Swiss is in a daily sell for 1 day, now working on its second day, heading for a second day of it. And that means that the dollar is going down in value, losing money, and the Swiss is gaining value in money, going up. So that's because there's more now Swiss. No, there's less Swiss to the dollar. So it takes more dollars to buy Swiss. And so that's where we stand right there, right then, and right now. We're able to see the view of that. We've been in that weekly buy in this product. You can see it there. It's highlighted on line 21. 6 weeks we've been in a buy now. And it came up from the 91 area. And now we are piercing close to the 92 area, I guess it is now. So we're heading back down towards that region where we started from to begin with. We went into the buy here in the low 91 area, right there, right there. So we're playing with the range. We talk about this range every day. We watch them, and that's what they're doing right now. Is they're just backing off a little bit. It actually looks like a head and shoulders too, which is interesting. Maybe we're going to see the bottom end of the range now. Maybe there's a. Let's see. I don't know. Let's see. Today, is it today? Yeah, it's today. The Federal Reserve comes out with the minutes, I would imagine, right? Yeah, that makes sense. So maybe they're going to say something that puts a little charge into it all. I guess that's the best way to look at it. In other words, something that motivates buyers and sellers. I would think that could be the recipe to. And it happens in like 6 hours, 5 hours from now. What's it now? 8:32 Eastern Standard. It'll happen at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard. So that is, that's 6 hours from now, 5.5 hours. So we have 5.5 hours of market. They're buying it. The stock markets are up very firm. Earnings have been fine. And so there's, you can see here I think matter of fact, when you look on the fact check spreadsheet, you can see not only is the Swiss gaining against the value of the dollar, you can see it right here also. The GBP and the Euro are both also in buys coming in today, heading for their second day of buying. So there's definitely some buying going on in here. Let's see, what else can we say about that? I find it interesting to see the weekly, as you can see right here on Chicago Quant, right there, breaking the time manifold and trying to head towards the zero line. So that's interesting. That is a clear, you see when it tried to do it here after 1 week in a buy, found a way to bounce up. The daily buy kicked out. There's some buying, and the next thing you know, it explodes up a couple hundred points. So in this case here, if this fails and we get into the sell, well, then I think we're going to see some, action down to the low end of the range. Which, let's see if we can scrunch this up so you can see what the low end of the range is. Right there in the 90-ish area, I guess it is. The low end of the range is in the 89 to 90 area. So, we're in the 92-ish area now. So, it could be an interesting move on the downside. And that would be, I guess, logical. What are we? I'm trying to think where we're at time-wise. We're in October. This Fed meeting's probably like the last most important one of the year. The December one, I'm not really sure what is going to go on. I guess they'll confirm inflation more at that point. But this is probably the more meat and potatoes. They were hoping Jackson Hole was going to be much more informative. And the September one, the 1st of September seemed to, or I guess it was the first 2 weeks in September. I'm not sure now, but the Jackson Hole was supposed to be the one that made everything clear, and now we're at a point now where the next one may be the biggie, but the numbers from this one will be reported in December, and I think that's probably the key to it all. Douglas, morning to you. Jordan, hello, how are you? I am doing fine. Just trying to understand what we're seeing here. When the Swiss starts to break down, it's usually a very insightful thing, you know. And so we can see here it's trying to make a break. It's doing a reverse head and shoulder, not a reverse, a head and shoulders. Where's that mouse at again? There it is. You can see the head and shoulders right here, and it looks like it's flirting with that little green line we were playing with. And if they start breaking it down and the weekly goes into a weekly sell, well, this could be a nice move down to this area here. So just kind of thinking about it out loud, you know, just being me. You know, just throwing an idea out there into the electronic pit. That's what it is, the electronic trading crowd. All right, let's now jump back over to J4X real quick. You see same thing, same weakness going on. Line over, whoop, no. The line here, the white line moving down. You can see same thing here. I'm sure we're seeing the white line moving down exactly. See? Same action there. We got some red going on in there. We got some red going on in there. Just comparing the two, giving everybody a heads up that the J4X tool is a very good tool. And so it's much better than, say, a MACD or some moving average thing. This is a definite dynamic tool. Well worth doing, and it's for free. It's right there. Let's see, we got a message. Ah. There we go. And so that's where we stand now with the Swiss. And what we'll do now is we'll jump over to the euro and see how the euro is looking. We already know it has pressure on it because it came in as a daily sell. We see dollar going down, so I'm assuming the Swiss is moving back up to the bottom end of the range, and it's doing it. You can see the strength there. Unfortunately, the weekly looks a little bit ragged still. It's having its issues. The green line is way away from the time manifold underneath here. So I'm not totally convinced we'll see a lot of strength out of this as much as we will out of the Swiss. And then let's take a look at it just to confirm. I like to confirm how well the J4X is as a tool, and I'd like to show you that all the time. That's why we have both charts up on the screen here, right there. There we go. And you'll be able to see here where the white line is moving up. See, right there. And two green hinkies matching up to our dots. Not bad. It's a laggard. It's a lagging indicator to our work. It's a leading, super leading indicator to everybody else's work. So that's the proof in the pudding always. Always the proof in the pudding. Oh, what's Jordan say? Finished reading Fibonacci Trading by Carlene Broden. I think I've seen that name before. I bet it was interesting. You know, the Fibonacci sequence, and I think we have a couple of these products we've stick Fibonacci sequences on. We can do a little tutorial on that if you care for it. My math is an analogous. In other words, it is. Let me describe this. My math is a prelude to Fibonacci. A prelude. Does that make sense? In other words, my math came before Fibonacci evolved universally. And that's my what's the word I'm looking for? That is my analysis that I did 5 years of research at Princeton University and the Institute of Advanced Study to conclude without publishing my work. But as far as I can tell now, I believe my formula is ahead. I think I know I can prove it, but my formula is ahead of Fibonacci. Now that does not belittle Fibonacci in any way whatsoever. It just means that my formula is, it's a part of the fabric of space. How's that? That's the best way to describe it. And Fibonacci is the fabric of space. They're both fabrics of space. So in other words, you see the spirals, you see the sequence, in Fibonacci throughout, expanding galaxies. You see it all the way down to looking at it in the shapes of leaves and seeds and flowers and tree rungs, and you see it in so many ways. You see the difference between a square and a rectangle is the Fibonacci sequence. So in other words, when you take a rectangle and you turn it into a square, what you reduce off of the rectangle is the, I think it's the 1/3 actually. It's the 0.318. You actually remove that, you get yourself a square. If you noticed, everything you look at in life is not a square, it's a rectangle. It's in our nature to use the Fibonacci psychologically. You have seen it, Doc. Someone said already about her. Yeah, I know. I think maybe you maybe had me reading her. I think I took a read on her. I liked her work. I thought she did a fine job of describing Fibonacci. I really do. I thought she did a really fine job. There's a couple of women technical analysts out there, and they're pretty sharp. You got her and Linda Reski, and I'm trying to think of a few others. The girl that used to work for Susquehanna, she has her own operation now. I can't think of her name. But there are some really good female technicians out there. Because it was dominated by the males for a long time. Linda was probably like one of the first strong females to get involved. And this Carol, I think she's in her 40s or 50s, like Linda's my age. Linda was actually at my wedding. I still have the steak knives. I think I have one or two of the steak knives left still. But anyway, yeah, she's really good. I agree with you. Let's see. Jordan says, help to identify some price clusters on weekly for GBP cable. Looks like it hit a weekly support. Might put in a lower high weekly put. Not sure. Still learning. You know what? I think we had this conversation before, and let's go over to that. Where is it at? Let's find the cable. There it is right there. And at one point we had a Fibonacci chart on there, the sequence on there. Let's take a look at that. Right there, and we'll scrunch this up, and we'll have a little conversation about that. So, yeah, you take the high, I guess it would be this high right here, and then we take the low, which would be, say, over. Let's tighten this up a little bit more. Then you would take the low, a major low, somewhere in here or in here. Now you can see the analogous. This looks like a major low right there. So we'll Fibonacci this high to this low. So we'll go like that and like that. No, is it that? Where is it at? Why is it being a little antsy like that? Doesn't want to. I guess it's like right there, right? Yeah, see, something's wrong there. Let's widen that out and see if we can straighten that out a little bit more for you. Yeah, see, it doesn't. That's not the way it should be. Let's put this up there, like so. Let's not put this in. Let's give this a spin. All right, and then let's go back to it again. Let's take this, move it down to there. There we are. And take this, move it up to there, and move this back down again. There we go. All right, now see, that's it right there. And I think we were looking at this before. Oh, that's interesting. So we got below it. So we want. I guess we'll go with this low here, solely because of the range. So we go with what is that? I guess it doesn't like me pulling us all the way over. All right, let's try this. We'll go like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to widen it more. Let's see if we can grab a hold of this like that. Doesn't want to come on, you can come down. I think I'm going to start, okay, there we are there, and then we are right there. Alright, now let's scrunch this up and see what it did, if it's got it. There we go. That's close to it. Now if we go like that and bring up, there we are. I see it getting there. There we go. There we go. Okay, now let's scroll over to here. And let's see. Now what we have is, there's the top, from the top over here. We can scroll this over, move this over just a little bit so you can see that. So it challenged it for days there. Now if we widen this out, you'll see how my math, if you'll notice, reached the top end of its range in here. And then notice when it broke the, which one is this? Right there, that's the, let's see if we can move this over. Let's see, where's the number? Oh, there's the numbers right there. So the blue one is the 0.76. Notice as the blue 7.6 is breaking down, my weekly is breaking through there at the same time. It's going negative, so it's showing the weakness. That's a classic logic to my set theory way of looking at things, of proving that my math is ahead of the Fibonacci, because it's picking it up and moving back down through that. But anyway, you can see here, here's your, I guess it would be the 0.62 or 618 right here. You can see the resistance. Then you can see the 50 percentile right there, becoming something that orbits and bounces around off the 0.38, and then you can see the extreme of the 0.23. Now, I think it was R.N. Elliott that used to talk about it, and so did WD Gann. Both talked about this 0.76 as the extreme. They used to refer to it as the extreme in the Fibonacci sequence. Now, both R.N. Elliott and W.D. Gann worked with Jones, one of the first, which is considered the first hedge fund, known hedge fund, back in the 1940s. And they both wrote lots of interesting stuff after the fact of their individual fame as joint stuff, and the extreme was one of them, and the triangles were another. They came up with a 5 pattern and a 7 pattern. They all are analogous to the Fibonacci sequence when using all those tools together. And so, let's see, I finished this and recycled that. So that's better, I think. Let's see now. Try and shrink this down. I have to shrink this down. Oop. Shrink this down like that. That's better. Okay, so you can see here our. Maybe I need to reset it to the screen. Let's see, format, scale, screen. There we go, that's better. Alright, so you can see here, we come down into our extreme, we break the, oh, you can see the 0 line. Where's my 0 line now? I've lost my 0 line. Let's see, where's it at? Format. We want to screen and style, properties. Let's see. Well, the 0 line is here. Let's see if we can put the 0 line in there for us. Like right there. There's the 0. Why is this thing rebelling so much this day? Okay, there we go. Now let's move that up. Let me find my arrow. There we go. That's basically it right there. What a rebellious thing this thing is today. Alright, and so you can see here as this breaks hits the 50 and starts to break down, our math breaks down. You can see how the white line joins in with the Fibonacci, bottoming here and lifting up in there, that type of thing. But overall, yeah. Now let's see, what you said there was Jordan helped identify some same price clusters on the weekly for GBP. Looks like it hit weekly support, might put in a lower high, okay, on the weekly put, not sure, we're still learning. I hear you. I would like to see my weekly right here get going. I'd like to see that, come and challenge the time manifold. We follow this through the 3-5 because of the beta of the particular underlying product or the pairs. Notice that the beta side, the high beta side of it is already lifting. We're already getting the blue line, which is the 5 part of the 3-5. So it's already showing that strength there. It's starting to lift. Just double check that. Style. Yeah. So the blue dotted line is the 5, and it's already making that move. And notice how the daily has banged up against the 50 percentile. So it's probably going to do a little hesitation in there. We're in a daily buy for a day right there. We're on a second day. Chances are we may go battle right back up to the 0.618 because of that, because we're in the daily buy. Now, if we were in the weekly and daily buy, I would almost have like a 90% confirmation that it is going to hit that target. But due to the fact we're still in the weekly, it shows us that there's still some hesitation money-wise. It's not, the money is not coming in totally yet. And so, because that's what my math really identifies, the formula is aimed at picking up supply and demand, buyers versus sellers. And so right now it's showing us that they're trying, on a short-term basis, right here you can see it, in a daily buy for the 1 day going on 2 days now as we speak. But down in here you can see the weakness is still in the weekly. I think it's a very good sign. You can see here the white histogram is hitting the time manifold. If we can get this green line by the end of the week, tomorrow, to start getting through that area, yeah, I'm starting to think 142. So let's see. Jordan says, WD Gann, I was looking at some of his books, currently reading Trade What You See by Larry Pesavizito and Lisa Joflis, and the talk about WD Gann. Cool. Yeah, WD Gann was very sharp, very dynamic. He really brought Fibonacci to the financial world in America. I want to say that it was there already through like trading rice and so forth, and when they started doing candlesticks, I guess in the 14th or 15th century in Japan for trading rice, I think Fibonacci got slid into there also at the same time. Because I had conversations with Nissan, head of Merrill Lynch's, head technician for Merrill Lynch back in the day, and he said that was also incorporated in there. As I take a sip of tea here, so yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in there. A lot of interesting stuff when it comes to the WD Gann and R.N. Elliott. R.N. Elliott, to a great extent, was also flirting in that direction. He was doing more unions and subsets of topology. Didn't even know it. They should give him credit for being a topologist. But anyway, yeah, there's some really good fundamental work, and I can see the technical analysis of that work even more accurate today. Ever since quantitative easing, it seems to be even more accurate now than ever before, which is really unique in its own right to begin with. There. All right, so there's the cable. You want to see anything else? Just give a yell. We can take apart different things here. But you can see we're already flirting with the 50 percentile right there, which is interesting. And it'd probably do a little hesitation like it did here. Again, in this case here, it was nice. We were in the weekly buy. I would have thought for sure we were going to get into the, come up and challenge this area here, but we did not, which was really surprising. It happened by the end of the week. So here we get that, and then the next thing you know, the next day, is it the next day or 2 days? 24. Okay, 2 days later, we're already moving back down in the sell again. So, you know, it hit the 50 percentile, and our math rolled over, which was really disappointing. Really, we're hoping to see it go to that, 38.5 area right there. Now, you can see here, here's another one of those, another failure too. Well, is it or is it not? See, it goes into the buy here. We go into the daily buy here off of the 50 percentile, and here we do get what we wanted, and that is we get up past the 38.5. Then the following week, it gives us a sell signal. We get into the daily, and we start to see some weakness. It challenges the 62 again, and even then more. But we're in the weekly sell, and then when we get into a daily sell again, it rolls over, goes back to the 50, and then comes down to the 0.38 even. So we could probably go look at this at a few other events like that, like right there. Goes into the weekly buy here. Unfortunately, it was in a daily buy off of the 50 percentile, which was really cool, but it stalled out right there with the 0.78 or 76, and we went to a daily sell, and it was just the beginning of the sell-off. That's all it was. So it's too bad. We got 1 day of buying back into the sell, and we were still in the weekly buy, and then when we went into the weekly sell with the daily sell, it rolled over, went down and challenged two zones again right there. Let's see, I still remember the book you recommended. Oh yeah, John Murphy. He has everybody in that. John Murphy was, I want to say he was a market technician for E.F. Hutton. I think it was E.F. Hutton, and I think then at some point or another, maybe even Shearson Rhodes and Loeb. Shearson. It was Shearson and Company. They were major companies, and so yeah, John Murphy has it all in there. Just anything from WD Gann himself. I have not read many of his books because my math is pre-financial markets. So in other words, I got involved in the financial markets in like 40 some odd years ago. That's 4-0, right, back in the late 70s, early 80s. And so I had already invented my math. I was just using it for physics. When I got involved in the market, when they legalized listed options, and I started incorporating my math, I started realizing, how well it was analogous, or how it worked in real world minus atomic theory. So it worked fine in atomic theory, it worked fine in expanding galaxies and thermodynamics, and now I'm finding it was working really well with predicting the direction of stocks and indices. So I didn't really read anybody's work for maybe 4 or 5 years, and then going into the mid 80s, I guess like 83, 84, like 84, too many people had said to me, "Are you doing Elliott Wave? Are you doing Bob Prechter? Are you doing WD Gann?" And I was like, "I don't really know who they are." They said, "Oh, well, it looks like you're doing that on your charts," because I used to have a chart. I used to call it the Porta chart, and I used to keep it in my trading jacket, and I was, it was the Dow, and I was marking in different readings of the Dow throughout the day to put on my chart. And people started saying, "Looks like you're doing those things," and I was like, maybe I should read about this. So then I did. I read, I read some of their works back in the 80s, saw how much they were involved with Fibonacci sequence, the golden rule math, the spiral, the spatial spiral, and I didn't have to read them too much to understand them, since I already understood the math itself. So I can't recommend much of their books except for their books itself. In other words, I have an old copy of WD Gann's, not WD Gann's, R.N. Elliott's work. I have that. And then I have something from WD Gann, but nothing major. Just some old pamphlet in books, that type of thing. I think that's the best way to describe it, I guess. Let's see. I hope that makes some sense. I hope it does. I think it would. It seems to me like it makes sense. So, how when looking, when now in modern times looking on charts, and you see my math on a daily basis and a weekly basis, you can compare how it acts at the Fibonacci points. And then we had a couple traders here. Who was it? It was Janash. Janash was using my numbers to match up to some of the Fibonacci's at one point or another. So it's easy to do. It's easy to look at my math and then look at the Fibonacci. You can see it right here on the screen. You can see the the way it plays the whole thing there. I guess I can give you my opinion on how to set up the Fibonacci, because that's a challenge in its own right. Take a major low and a major high, and then set it to that. And that's usually the best way to set up the Fibonacci sequence and then you can do them inside. You can Fibonacci inside them like so. Let's see, where's it at? I think it's that one. So then you would Fibonacci inside here. I don't know why it's being antsy like that, but let's get rid of that, because that doesn't make any sense. But you can Fibonacci the sequence again. There we go. Let's try it in here. Here's a good example of it. All right, we'll use this instead. I thought I had a better one set up, but I guess not. So in other words, you take this here and Fibonacci. Jeez, this thing's being antsy. So you do that, and then you Fibonacci this one here. Well, this whole thing needs to be, Fibonacci from there to, I think it's right there. There we go. I think that's it. So you Fibonacci this inside. You can see how it acts on an intraday basis if you're looking at an intraday or so forth. I hope that helps a little bit. But John Murphy encompasses everything. That's the good thing about John Murphy's book, is that it encompasses everything. Let's see if I can get rid of this without destroying anything. Okay, there we go. And so John Murphy's book is well worth having, because it probably will give you excerpts. There's a good chance that John Murphy knew WD Gann, because E.F. Hutton was at Midtown, and WD Gann had an office at Midtown, like on Madison, 47th and Madison, something like that. R.N. Elliott had an office at 47th and Madison, and Jones had a office. They were literally almost right next door to each other, all three of them. And so, I think at one time E.F. Hutton had an office up there. So it wouldn't surprise me if John Murphy actually knew and talked to these individuals. Wouldn't surprise me at all. And John's probably old enough for that too, because I think John's probably in his 90s now, if he's still alive. And you got to figure that means that he was in his 30s or something like that when those guys were all together, and he was in the financial industry doing technical analysis. So there's a good chance that he actually, knew one or two of them and talked with them directly. And that's why I recommend the John Murphy book, because he has everybody's work put together as like a dictionary, like a catalog. It's fantastic. All right, where do we go from here? Oh, I guess we'll jump over to Turkish lira, unless you want to talk about more of the Fibonacci sequence and how it functions. Let's jump over to Turkish lira. Right there. You can see President Aragon came out with something again. I think he fired a bunch of bankers, or, 2 or 3 bankers from the central bank. So when he does that stuff, it usually freaks the markets out a little bit more. Yeah, John Murphy, and he has updated them over the years while he was alive. So I would go for his original book, which has to be at the cheapest. Go for his first original book, and then I guess from there you go and find the last one that was updated, and you can compare what advancements he had made. I would think that would be the logic of it all. Let's see, where are we at? Oh yeah, so there's Turkish lira. We're in the weekly buy and the daily buy, and things going up and making new all-time highs. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Hey Douglas. Let's see. EWZ, Doc. Yo. Yo. Let's check out EWZ. Let's see what she's doing. Open Sesame. Oh, shoot. I'm glad you just reminded me. Oh, you just reminded me of something. Thank you. I need to send out 2 other charts to Robin. I just remembered that. Thank you very much. What places is that? What places is that? Let's get rid of that. Get rid of that. Now why did that pop? Oh, that popped up. Opened up the wrong thing. Close. Okay. Now let's open that again for EWZ right there. Alright, so there we go. There is EWZ. And you can see this morning it's up and lifting, trying to get into a buy. It's been in a sell for a couple days. And you can see the weekly is trying to turn up in there too. So we're seeing the Brazilian move into the north side of things. Let's see, we went into the sell here, and then it went back into the buy right there. Let's put the lines in there for you. And then it went back into the sell right there, but it didn't really go down much, did it? And now we're back in, let's put one more in there. And now we're flirting with the buy again right there today. Let's make that red. So there it is. And we'll widen it out so you can see it better, like so. And as you can see here, went into the buy here, but we were in a weekly sell, so it was just like one pop up. You were protected not to get trapped in that. Then you went back into the sell here, and you really didn't make any money out of it, very little. And now it's giving you a warning sign that don't be short at the moment, but just don't be long either. And then today you can see it's trying to lift up again. So you can't be short. This thing is in its weekly sell since many moons ago, all the way back to up in here in the June 30th area. We went into the weekly sell in the 40s, and it traded all the way down into the low 30s. How's that? Now let me save this for Robin. And remove that. Put this in there. Oh, it's still in the buy. That's what it is. It's still in the buy. So let's save that. And that's XLE. Let's move that off the screen there like that. Where are we? Right there. Then let's take a look at this one here. Still not updated. Now where's... I'm confused. Where is... Let's give this a refresh. So just do it like that. And widen it out. There we go. So it's looking strong in there. So let's save that, send that over to the Robin. I think we'll widen it out a little bit more so it can be seen better. Like so. Let's see, right there. I'm glad you reminded me. That's good. This is TMF. And then I want to do, what do I want to do? I'm going to do the SPY. There's a SPY right there. Put the line in there for them. Like so. And save that. Alright, and oh, look at the weekly in that too. Let me cancel this. What's the issue here? Look at that. It's flirting with the weekly buy there in the SPY. So let's put that little circle in there, like so. And we'll change the color of it. There we are. As I just update those things there. There we go. Alright, so you not only did you see the Brazilian, which is turning up, you can see the rest of the stuff is turning up at the same time. Now, let's see, what's the last one? I think we have a UUP I need to do, but that's all right. So there we go. I hope that answered your question with the EWZ. I'm going to just go save workspace and close it. If you have a question for anything else, just fire it out. We'll go chase it down. But there's the Turkish lira and the strength in it. Now let's take a look at it over on J4X. And then what we'll do is we will follow that up by taking a look at the euro against the Turkish lira on J4X. It's around here somewhere. There it is. No, okay, dollar. We got to do dollar first. That's right. Just to show the analogous, you know, how they're both working together. The J4X with the Chicago Quant. It's here somewhere. There it is, right there. And you can see there, you know, just rifling up, heading up like a moonshot, you know, just acting strong, strong, and stronger. Okay, now we go over here again on J4X. We'll stick up the euro against the Turkish lira, and I'm sure it's acting extremely well. Also there, you can see it's stripped. It was up to 10 and change. Wow. Really aggressive moves. And let's see it over on the quant right there. There it is right there. You can see the strength in both of those. Just lifting and climbing and not giving up. You know, it just does not give up. It's impressive too. The way they don't give up. You know, they rally. They rally with tenacity. That's the great part about it. President Aragon's got a whole economic policy that definitely makes things a little more different or confusing or whatever. You know, due to the fact that the currency has gone from 1.5 to 10 and change in one. The other one is, you know, it's at 9.5. So it's definitely something that the president has been working towards. He's been moving his currency. I guess if you devalue your currency enough, you get people to import. I mean, you know, buy Turkish goods. They're cheaper. You know, and I think that's usually part of the logic when you devalue your currency. That's what your objective is to begin with. So I guess his idea of economic policy for Turkey, I guess, is to slowly devalue the currency to a point where money comes into the country because it's a cheap bargain. In other words, it's so undervalued that they have to come in and buy. You know, it's like I need to own this. You know, I've got to own this, and that's obviously. He's trying to do it in a slow, steady process because it's been going on for, I don't know, 6-7 years now or 5 years, whatever. Ever since he became prime minister, it's been his policy to help to drive the product in that direction. So there it is. There's the Turkish lira. You know, we're looking in the 10s, over 10.5 in euro Turkish lira now, and we're looking at like over 9.5 or in the 9s in. Is it 9s or is it 10? Let's go back to the dollar real quick. And today's high is 9.15, so it's in the 9s now. It's past our range that we expected to see it climb to. It's done it. It's finally done it. So, there we are. All right, now let's see. What is next? I guess what we do is we go to Canadian from here, and when we do the Canadian, we get a flavor of the metal and oil sector. So let's go find dollar Canadian right there, and see how it's moving down. It keeps on moving down. I mean, that's some real good stuff for Canada, you know. I mean, we're seeing some right there. It's moving down. We're in a sell from last week. We went into the weekly sell here. Been in a daily sell since there. So, I mean, the math is picking that up with no problem. It played the top end of the range. Now it's heading for the bottom end of the range. And that's where we are at this point in time. Let me think what else we got going on here. I guess that's about it, really. And they have an election going on up there, so we're going to see, I guess, more and more excitement from the Canadian. Now, from this, what we do is we look at the, we go over to, where's it at here? Up there. We go over to the gold, and we look at silver, and not silver as much, but they're both lifting last I looked. And also we go over and look at the crude oil, because Canada is really big on, you know, produce a lot of crude for the size of their country, like 2 to 3 million, like 3 million barrels or something like that. And same thing, they're the second or third largest gold producer in the world also, and silver producer, and copper, I think, also. And so that's that. Now let's check that out. There's the Canadian there. We got the Canadian here. You see that pressure on it. Now let's go take a look at crude oil. Get a flavor of the action we're seeing, and there's crude. It's moving up, and this is moving down. That's the way it's supposed to go. You know, and you know, look at that. There's crude oil. It's been running and running and running. And you can see the white line stays above the slow, so it keeps on telling us there's strength. Every time we get a little red, it means nothing. And so that's pretty much where we're at the moment. Yeah. And then from there, let's check it out over in Chicago. You can see same situation going back into the buy. We went into a sell a couple days ago, and we're in the weekly, so you couldn't take the short. Just told you to take the profits, that's all. Now it's jumping back into the buy again today. Let's see if it closes there. And the pressure is on the upside when it comes to oil. I heard Putin said something about $100 oil, which is... anything's possible, that's for sure. It's going to be a cold winter no matter what, so they're going to need that. Also, did you see where in Norway, the Green Party's talking about normalizing nuclear power now, considering it clean energy? So that's really important. That would help out Europe enormously, because Europe is really getting in trouble with what they refer to as clean energy. They're getting basically crushed, and they're having to use like coal and all that other stuff to do that, you know. So then, let's see where we go. So we want to go over to, up there, let's go to gold. Let's see what gold looks like right there. And gold, you know, has been in a buy for weeks. Now we got look at that, the weekly is now piercing today. It's actually piercing, which I will go and look at. We will look together. There's gold on J4X, same thing, strength and strength. And Robin and I wrote an article saying, is this fifth reverse head and shoulder going to fail? You know, we'll look for a daily sell to see. And wow, they're doing the opposite. After 4 failed reverse head and shoulders, we're finally getting a bottom out of this one. And you can see here gold moving up on the J4X. Now we'll take a look at silver real quick, just because that's who we did the article on. And let's see, where's it at? Silver right there. Same situation, and look at that weekly. It's getting better and better. Maybe we're going to get some really good work out of it. That would be really cool. That would be really, really cool. So I'd love to see you know, them take silver up into the 25s or something. Do something nice for silver, because it seems like they can't get out of the way when it comes to silver. Every time, you know, I think, let me shrink it down. I'll show you what we were looking at and what we wrote. Basically, you see here, there it is. I mean, like we talked about this 2 days ago, the reverse head and shoulders failing. Once there, then once here, then once here, then once here, and then we thought, okay, how about this one? The 5th time, is that a charm? We need to see the weekly turn up, and sure enough, we're getting, you know, we're 23 weeks in a weekly sell, going on 24 now. So, you know, it would be interesting to see them get it. You would think they would get it up to this area, maybe challenge this bottom head of shoulders, like towards the 25-ish, 2480, something like that. That would be really, really cool to see some action like that. Because there's these, let's see, what do we got here? Tornado. Oh no, good morning, Janos and Vibav and Doc. We had a tornado last night. Wow, electricity is still unstable, so if it happens that I'm not on the webinar, please be aware that it is due to electricity. Thank you. Wow. God bless you. Hang tough, educator. That must have been Brazil, right? Ouch. Ouch, ouch. Yeah, these tornadoes. I mean, it's amazing. Ours, they say, it was probably the biggest and most powerful in our state ever recorded. But the thing was moving at 150 to 175 miles an hour. It's a hell of a speed. It just tore things up. It's amazing. I go by. Missed us by, you know, 1/8 of a mile, 1/4 of a mile. But, you know, it is amazing when Mother Nature does its thing. And we, you know what? We just had 2 CMEs hit the Earth, so it fed energy into it too. That's classic. Yeah. That's exactly it. There we go. Okay. And I guess that's about it when it comes to, what am I talking about here? Let's go to, now that we've done that, we want to run back over to the South African Rand, and I would assume it's going down because we're seeing metals move up, and we're in that weekly buy. Maybe it's starting to turn it. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know the political situation at the moment, if Zuma's people are doing anything, but I'm looking forward to seeing if that turns. You know, in other words, if the South African Rand turns, I have to believe that we're going to see some good stuff with the metals complex. I think I'm going to try to use that as a key. That's what I'm thinking in my head. And that's usually, you know, I'm always looking for something to confirm. So let's take a look at the South African Rand. Where's it at? Right. It's around here somewhere. South African Rand. ZAR. Where's Zool? There it is. There's the South African Rand. And then let's do it here. And you can see it's moving down. And unfortunately that weekly is kind of firm. Love to see that thing roll over. Love to see that white line just take, you know, just touch the time manifold. Just do something. Show us some weakness down in here, you know. That would be great. Let's see, Middle Age. Hey, Middle Age, how you been? I'm adding more Fed gold calls, Doc. Looking to get long March 24 to the 50s. Yeah, I hear you. I would love to see the South African Rand turn down. Boy, would that be a confirmation that we're starting to see some real buying in the metals complex. That would be a good sign, you know. One good thing, I don't know if you saw the chart a little while ago. Let me see if I can put it back up there for you. Give you a quick flash of that. Here's our gold chart. And you can see our weekly is trying to get into the buy right here today, which is nice. So that's a very positive sign for you. And I know you're a big fan of our weekly, so you follow that very closely. And then at the same time, you know, unfortunately the silver is a little far away, but I'll tell you, if the silver even dares to touch it, wow, I mean, you can see how close it is now. And this thing is trying to move up. Maybe this is the charm. After four, failed reverse head and shoulders, maybe this time, instead of us going into a daily sell, we stay in the daily sell and we get into a weekly buy and we get a move maybe up into the 24s, or not 20, like 24.80 or 25s, or even challenge the 26s. So yeah, I hear you there. Makes sense, middle age. Makes a lot of sense to me. All right, let's see, where else are we now? Let's check out Ruble. There's Ruble real quick. You can see that moving down. Let's get that so you can see it on there, and we'll put it up on J4X. There's Ruble moving back down again. We're in that weekly sell for a while now, so I wasn't that surprised that the bounce would be a dead catter, because we've been in a weekly sell since back in here. So that's going down, and the dollar's moving down against everything, so that makes a lot of sense. Let's check out the yen. There's dollar yen, and there is right there. See, it's still holding up. It's trying to knock itself down, but we're in that weekly buy since down in here. So, every buy has been relatively good out of it, or the buys are the ones to trust. Let's put it that way. Then let's check out Mexican peso, which I think is starting to roll over a little bit. Right there. Activate. We'll put it up over here on J4X right there. See, it's moving back up again. That's curious. Not big, but it is moving back up. And you can see here, yesterday it went into the daily sell. Look at that. Let's widen that out a little bit. So it went into the daily sell there. Let's put that line in after that nice big move up out of that whole move there. And we're seeing, let's see, where's that? Right there. There we go. So we're seeing that action there at the same time. So at this point, I guess you could say is what we're seeing overall is that the dollar is moving down, and it can be the inflation thing that everybody's been talking about, or it can be all kinds of wonderful things that have an influence. So, all right, traders, we're done. We will catch you tomorrow on TGIF, which will be, thank goodness, it's the end of the week. All right, Doc from North America saying, happy trails to you until we meet again tomorrow. Happy trails to you, to all our trading friends. Thank you, Electronic Trading Pit and Dukascopy. Catch you all later. Ta-ta.